I think why I give him the credit is what I mentioned before of no one has been able to imitate it, what he's doing, and I think that's why his core fans have stayed there because I said this on the weekend. There's a group of people who are listening to Party Next Door on repeat.
That's crazy.
And the past weekend,
I wish I was that person though.
No, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. And the thing is, I understand because I've been there. There's been either songs, like when Come and See Me came out, I listened to Come and See Me for 72 hours in a row. Like that one song. Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how that album fits into the context of that artist's career. For everyone watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us. On our way to 5,000, please make sure you like this video, leave a comment, share with your friends, and of course, subscribe. My name is Adriel Smiley, aka AdrielSmiley.com, aka Adriel Smiley Official, aka The Godfather. We are here with His Royal Highness, aka the Bunny, King Grant.
What's happening, people? We're back. This time, it's with Partynextdoor, Canadian legend.
Yep.
Partynextdoor 4P4 is the name of the album.
Mm-hmm.
One of the primogenitors of this trap R&B style.
Yep.
Right. Colors was...
Wow, that's a throwback.
I was listening to Colors. I was there. Okay, I was there listening to Colors. Let's Get Married. That's probably my favorite Partynextdoor song, to be honest. Yeah, so Partynextdoor 4 P4 is the latest review that we're putting out here. I think that this is going to be one of the more interesting reviews because Partynextdoor, I think, is one of the more influential R&B artists from the last little while.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been almost 15 years since his first drop. Or maybe that's a little bit too much. Maybe it's like 10 years.
Yeah, P&D one was 2013.
Yeah. So 12 years, 11 years. So this is it. I'm excited to hear how you feel about this, honestly, because I've always had my feelings about Partynextdoor that he has not really escaped. But I know he has a diehard fan base, which I am not a part of. So I would love to hear what you have to say.
I would say I'm a big P&D fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think I obviously have a personal attachment to his music, being from Toronto. And
He's from Saga.
Yeah, he's from Saga, and being outside when the first P&D came out. Still to this day, P&D 2 had a similar effect, but P&D 1, I cannot remember an album having a chokehold at house parties like this one did. This was the first project I ever saw people ask for in full, and I have not seen it since. But I remember going to several different parties, and of course the first P&D is only 28 minutes, but people saying run P&D top to bottom, and
wow.
So that I think is where the diehard fan base comes. Similar to Trap Soul, like you mentioned last week, and how people are still holding on to Trap Soul even though it hasn't happened again. I think from P&D 1, he probably got a few people who was like, listen, we're never leaving you. No matter what you do, we ain't going nowhere. Do you have a favorite from that P&D series? I think mentioning Colors was important at the top because that's almost like a step away from this series. This, to me, is what people think of as the main Partynextdoor projects. And anything else is kind of a step away from that. Mm-hmm. Is there a favorite out of this group to you?
I would say Partynextdoor, the first one, mostly because Break from Toronto is kind of like, I lived that life. I genuinely have lived that song in my life. So I think that one just holds a special place to my heart. And also, I just think, that one and the second one, I think, were like, I felt like everybody was talking about it all the time. Like you could not escape it. Like they were playing it. Any sort of kickback you went to, any sort of, after party you went to.
After party anthem.
Yeah. People were just spinning that like crazy. So I want to say the first one, Partynextdoor 1.
I'm in the same spot with you, man. The first one is still it to me. The second one, I think, really started off the Partynextdoor and his music being the after party anthem. Mm-hmm. At least in Toronto, The Weeknd was after party anthem for a long time. And, whatever time in the morning, there's 12 of you instead of 40 of you. The Weeknd was playing. Partynextdoor took that spot. That was a coveted spot to take, add a little more drums to it. So I think 1 or 2 is probably the right answer for this. Mm-hmm. In terms of his singles, he has been kind of a mix of a singles and an album artist, because he does have these songs like Break from Toronto that are just so infectious. But
yeah, and he even had a comeback. Remember when he had a comeback on Toronto and people were like, do you not remember that? You don't see
the comeback of
Break from Toronto, it like retrended.
Oh, I didn't know
you
that
didn't
it was.
see that? You
I
never
didn't
saw
know
that?
that it was left. I heard Break from Toronto for.
No, but obviously we heard it when it first came out, but it retrended on TikTok maybe last year.
Oh, you mean on TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, because I heard that song out always.
Yes.
Okay, so on TikTok it retrended.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, you didn't even see that.
No. But I didn't know the song went away. Like, again, when I go out, it's the song that you hear pretty often.
Okay.
So I guess, for the TikTokers, this was a retrend for you. Did you have any particular feeling about any of the singles that he had on this?
For this one,
Yeah.
not really. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a person not really tuned into Partynextdoor, just because I feel like personally, when I'm a person when I listen to music, right? Like I'm like, that album is dope, and just because one album is sick doesn't mean I'm going to be listening to album 4 or 5 by you.
Ooh.
And I think he lost me probably by after, I think like the third one, Colors, I liked. Like I go in and out, and I think that he has not captured my imagination leading up to this. So I was like, I heard the singles, I'm like, it's okay. Like Real Women, I think it was Real Women was one of the singles. I was like, it's all right. And then I kind of walked past it.
Yeah, none of the singles stood out for me except for her old friends. I didn't know that was going to be on here, but when that came out, I was definitely yelling, fuck all my bitches' old friends, just endlessly for like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But
that didn't even sound like a single.
It did. And I mentioned that because I think that this is an album that doesn't really have any singles.
Right.
I think, of course, you have to feed the algorithm, let your fans know that you're coming. So maybe an artist at his level does need a single, but none of these are really single worthy to me. And is there anything on the album that you felt like was single worthy? There's one that stands out to me, but for the most part, none of these feel like a single.
Cheers to me was probably, I want to say, the best song. And it actually has it's actually dynamic in a bunch of ways. Like, the melodies are different. The production is actually varied.
Yes.
On that song. And I like the hook a lot. I like the hook like a lot. And those are the things that stood out to me. I'm like, oh, this is actually interesting. Something that I've not witnessed multiple times by the same artist.
Wow.
in the past.
The strays are coming fast and furious.
So I think that I liked Cheers is probably the standout. And like it's also upbeat, and this is quite a slow album, and that's not a problem. But it's a slower album, so I thought it would have been good to just pull people in as a single.
Yeah, I think Cheers is one, and the other one is For Certain. I think those are the two that actually give single to me. So to see that he released 4 singles and none of them were these two.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because there aren't many singles on here, but there's at least these two where it's like, Cheers definitely gives single. So it's For Certain. Whatever order you want to put those in, make those your 2 lead singles. Bada boom, bada bing, we're good to go. So the fact that he did it this way, I think is interesting because I think this, to me, I'm reading this as this is the album for the hardcore party fans. He's kind of giving up the hits, giving up the mainstream and saying, okay, if you're a real party fan, these are for you. So I think that's a weird choice for me personally, but I kind of understand it. And before we get into production, one thing I want to mention, this is, I guess, production related, but not exactly music, is starting the album off with Control. And that skit at the end of Control, I said it off camera, I'll say it here, Party is the toxic king. He is a godfather of toxicity in R&B today. I'd say he's really the one that got it all started. And that skit at the end of Control talking about basically his girl, talking to her friend, setting up a threesome with Party, going right into Lose My Mind. Party is setting the tone with that project because that is really the bag he's in lyrically again. So I thought that interesting that he sets the tone with the lyrics on Control first, but the skit to say, listen, this is where I'm at in life right now, is asking my girl for threesomes.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's a good setup for the album, but I also think that doesn't carry it all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Like that bit at the end, like the actual phone call, gets carried into Lose My Mind.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like disintegrates from there, and then it gets picked up back again, and I think it's like Sorry I'm Outside, where he starts mentioning, like his girl back in the house and stuff like that. And then there's also that other skit, I think is in
The Retreat.
Sorry? No, before The Retreat. I think it's maybe in No Chill or Make It to the Morning, where he's like having an argument with like his girlfriend, right? About some girl like meeting him at the bar and like leading into him and stuff like that. So it's kind of like these like small links, right? Between each other, but I feel like narratively,
all over the place.
I just don't feel the songs are not speaking on it in any real way. Like they're kind of just amorphous sex ballads, right? But they don't actually connect directly to the skits. But the skits are a story. Like, you see what I'm saying? So that's like that was like a problem for me. I'm like, I get where the skits are going, but the music doesn't connect to the skit enough for it to be like a real thing,
Yeah, it's a weird part of the story he's trying to tell, which I think is part of the story of Partynextdoor. Now, a lot of artists have this image that is part of their music. And, you believing in that image is part of you believing in their music. I think Partynextdoor fits into that as someone who, this idea of he has all these women, is doing all these things. He sold us on that. We're at the fourth Partynextdoor at this point. If you're a Partynextdoor fan, you believe it. And I think the skits do a good job of kind of building that world of women in a sense. But I think even by the end of it, where it's, I'll get to that at lyrics, but
we could do it now. We could do the lyrics now.
No. Let's go production first. Go production first. But even at the end of it, it's kind of like, where is this all leading to? You mentioned this off the top. This is my first one I had production on. Is Cheers. I think that beat, it really reminds me of that like mid 2010s pop rap era with songs like Say Ah. Like that's the kind of energy it gives. But this to me is an example of his production, just kind of transferring that into a faster pace. I think he's known for that slow production and those kind of jittery hi-hats, but this is a time where he takes that same style and it's okay. Let's pick up the tempo.
Right. Yeah, and I think that it kind of resembles a Ty Dolla $ign song. Actually.
Okay, I can see that.
And I like Ty Dolla $ign, or I like Ty Dolla $ign when Ty Dolla $ign's music is good. It's like really good.
Yes.
Right, and I would say that Cheers is close to a good Ty Dolla $ign song. So yeah, that's a plus for me in production. I would say my prevailing thought with the production of this album is that it sounds very samey, and it's not even samey between the songs on the album. It's the same between his entire discography. Like I feel like if you is that not true?
No, it is.
If you took a song like No Chill and put it on Party Mobile, like would it have changed anything at all? Like sonically, would it sound out of place or anything like that? I don't think so. But that's like a constant for a lot of his songs. Even to the point where I was listening to, I think it was like, what was it? It was I think it was like Resentment or Real Woman. And I was like, isn't this the same beat as Lose My Mind? So then I had to scroll back up to the top and I'm like, oh, like the production gets so similar where I'm like, oh, I thought the beats were like the same, like.
On the same album.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I get you, because when No Chill started, I there's like 3 Partynextdoor songs that came to my mind that I was like, is this a different song?
Yeah.
It wasn't. But it's funny you say that, because when I listened to this album for the first time, a group of the family were all driving to Montreal, and it came out while we were in Montreal. So that morning when we were driving around, that's what we put on.
Right.
And 4 or 5 songs in, I said, Party is back. Party is back. And it's that sound that you said that he's been doing for a decade now. This feels like it's closer to his sound again. I think on Party Mobile and even the Party Pack that he did, it was almost like a lighter version of his sound. It was like his sound but a little diluted with mixed other things. This to me is like his sound but like highly concentrated.
Right.
And I think I like that, because we've seen so much people copy his sound over these past few years that's almost forgettable that he's the one who originated it and that it comes from him. And I thought about Bryson Tiller's album last week, and Bryson Tiller is one of those people who, to me, I would say trap soul is kind of an evolution of the first Partynextdoor and that sound. And when you hear the production on Bryson Tiller's last album compared to this, you see Party having a distinct sound in that sense where it's like, yo, y'all are doing a similar thing, but this is the real deal. So you're right. This is his mode. This is where he lives. But I'm actually here for it because this is a place where most artists don't get to do this, where they create a sound, get to come back 10 years later and reestablish that they do it best.
Yeah.
We saw Kid Cudi didn't get his chance to do that. Travis Scott probably will get his chance to do that.
Yeah.
But we've seen the opposite where you created a sound, everyone's copying it, and by the time you come back around, you're almost behind.
Yeah.
This sound that he has on this, we have not heard an R&B album sound like this production-wise, I don't think, in a long time. And so I think you're right.
Like this?
This is his pocket. But the production he has on here and his, signature Partynextdoor sound, I think it's way more solidified on this project. One that I want to mention is Her Old Friends. And the guitars on this, I hate to have every song remind me of another party song, but it reminded me.
But that's what I'm talking about, see? That's what I'm talking about.
It reminded me of Recognize. And I think that that's something that his drums in particular do such a good job of, because on Cheers as well, the piano and synths are very, very light. If you took that heavy drum kick away, very, very light, very airy. Her Old Friends, that guitar is strumming so softly. You would thought he's about to yodel the way that guitar is going. But once those drums kick in, whole different tone. Different tone. And that's something that he has done a very good job of over his career. And Her Old Friends, he does it here too, where the production, sonically can be soft, but the drums just make it hit heavy where it can play in different places. So to see that he's kind of come back to his sound and taken it over again, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think it on Stuck in My Ways, he has like a drowned, I call it drowned, like guitar, where it's like super warped and washed out. It sounds like it's underwater. I think that it sounds good too. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like just gray. There's definitely extra things that are happening, and Stuck in My Ways, kind of that guitar is kind of basically just like the whole melody for the entire track. It's the backing melody for the entire track. I think it's interesting. I just think that it's so similar to everything that he's been doing in the past, and we were talking about, what was it, 2013? So it's like 11 years ago.
Yep.
There's been lots of different iterations and different versions of what they're going for, what he's going for currently. And I think like this return to form, this like previous form is so, it's like it's not far enough in the past that it's like retro, but it's far enough in the past being like it's kind of boring for me because there's so many different versions of it that currently exist, and people have like twisted in different ways that it just kind of seems rudimentary.
Before I go on to some production that is a little bit different, who do you think does his sound the best, if not him? Because that's something I've been thinking about since the album came out that I don't have an answer for. And
probably Drake. I'm not even. Yeah, probably Drake.
And Drake is probably the answer, even though Party had that influence and has songs with Drake, even songs that not technically Party on, but it's his sound. So when I think about that, I think this brings me back to, we have so much imitations that it's kind of diluted his sound.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen anyone actually come close enough to saying they've taken over his sound and do it better. And that's why I mentioned someone like Travis Scott or someone like Kid Cudi or even Kanye West. Kanye West was the best to ever do samples. That's what we wanted from him. That was the best. You can get your flavor of samples anywhere now. You might want to hear Westside Gunn rap on samples, or maybe you want to hear Joey Badass rap on samples. But you can get that anywhere. And I think Partynextdoor, because R&B is such a place where it is very homogenous, there is no one still who does this sound better than him, because I don't think he's the best singer.
No,
I don't think he's the best singer. But I think that this production that is his style, still, I can't, like, listen, the person we named is someone who he collaborates with, someone he's signed to.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we look at it from that perspective, we still got to give him credit for owning this sound, being the one who does it the best. The one sound that I think is still kind of his sound, but we maybe wouldn't think it, is for certain. It's a little more Afro, a little more dancey.
I feel like this got like he was more. This was more special years ago. Like now, when people are doing like from Nigeria or doing Afro beats tracks, this is like this again. This it makes it sound rudiment. That's I think my biggest criticism is like everything that he's doing, and like he's the originator or one of the first people to create. There's multiple different versions of it now. So when he's doing like the original form, it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, I've heard there's cooler versions of this already exist now. So when you're doing the original, it kind of reminds me of like you're watching. I think I made this analogy before when we were watching like Seinfeld or Friends.
Yeah,
where those shows are almost boring in a way because you already know where the gag is gonna go or where the episode is gonna go because you watch the latest television, which is like 30 years after those shows came out. So and they've already twisted it. They've already done the, you know, the subversion of it. And it's like, what if we did this in Japan or Spain or something like that? And and I think he's kind of one of those people that suffer from that, where it's like, for certain, I'm like, why isn't Burna Boy featured on it? You know, like I would feel like that would have been cool. He would have brought a different dynamic to it too. And by not also evolving with the time, even though it's like, oh yeah, this is classic Party, this is his vibe. I'm like, yeah, but like, you know, people are doing cooler versions of it.
I gotta disagree with you on this one because I think that this is, to me, not really Afrofusion. This is more like an R&B Afro sprinkle. Like this is not, it's not really Afrofusion. And I think that this is the version of Afro that R&B artists mostly can't do. And I think that it comes from the Jamaican influence of being in Toronto, of course. But I think that this song that's like almost pseudo-Afro still can go on the Afro set list and is a little different than the real Afrofusion. Yeah. And I think to me, it's like, I agree with you. I don't think this is better than if I was going to listen to Burna Boy. Like if I wanted that, I got somewhere to go, you know? But I do think that this is almost its own genre in a sense of the pseudo-Afrofusion. And I think that now that the real stuff is in the mainstream, this kind of feels far behind. Yeah. But I think that if you go back to even P&D 3 and part of P&D 1 and 2, this has always been part of his sound, which I think is kind of part of that Toronto influence. So to have it on here, I was surprised. I think he's done better versions of this sound than this song. Yeah. But just to have this on here, I thought this was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my feelings on production. I'm trying to see if I can really come across anything more, but it's really he just feels stuck in time to me. Overall, I think that even going back to his previous albums, which I did, I wrote reviews for instead of actually speaking about them. It feels like, you know, somebody that like kind of just like crystallized in time, and everybody else kind of didn't even run past him, kind of just continued to walk. And he was like, here's
not even walk. They're on that thing on the airport that just
yeah. But he's like, I'm in the sand and playing in the sand with the sandcastles. But I feel like his sandcastles aren't even that impressive anymore. You know, so I'm just like I've fallen out. I feel like I've fallen out. Maybe if you're a diehard, which I am not.
I think you're more a casual Party fan.
Yeah, I just. But I've heard all of his songs though. That's the thing. It's like I've heard all of the songs, but I think I just listened to, like also like I've not been a person who listens to an artist and then just like stays with that artist just because they made that one album, right? Like they make that one album like sick. Tomorrow,
what else you got?
Yeah, tomorrow. Literally 100,000 people release new albums. So if you're coming back 3 years, like, you know, 3 years after, and it still sounds like the first album, be like the evolution of music, just like did this a bunch of times.
While you were doing that.
Yeah, while you're still shaped like this. So that's my biggest problem with Party is like, I feel like he just like stays like this. And then maybe he goes like a little bit like this, just tilts it a little bit. It's like, oh, wow. Like, do you see that he shifted a little bit? I'm like, man, we're out here listening to like Cochise and like St. Vincent and Krogman or whatever. Like, I feel like he just kind of got stuck in time a little bit for me.
He is so in that time. I think why I give him the credit is what I mentioned before of no one has been able to imitate it, what he's doing. And I think that's why his core fans have stayed there, because I said this on the weekend. There's a group of people who are listening to Partynextdoor on repeat.
That's crazy.
And the past weekend,
I wish I was that person though.
No, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. And the thing is, I understand because I've been there. There's been either songs, like when Come and See Me came out, I listened to Come and See Me for 72 hours in a row. Like that one song. And so I've been in that mode where I'm a Partynextdoor person, listen to Party for 12 hours straight.
Right.
And I think that I'm not one of those people anymore, but I'm around some of those people.
Oh, okay.
And so I still see the power that his music has of that ability to play it on and on and on. Because I think of someone like Sir, who not a disciple of Partynextdoor, in his own lane. I would say he's more a disciple of Miguel.
Okay.
From that era. But I don't know if people love Sir. I don't see that same reaction if you listen to Sir over and over and over again. So it's interesting to see that he still has that effect all these years later.
Yeah.
And this album is the kind of culmination of that. One thing about him that is another reason why I said Partynextdoor is back is the lyrics.
Okay. Go for it, because I was struggling to really.
He's the OG Toxic King.
Okay.
He's like, there's a picture of Brent Fires in Future that people always tag when something goes wrong. The original should be Partynextdoor in Future. That should be the real picture, because there's also almost no accountability on this project at all. Like, we talk about every week if the woman will reply to you and apologize to you.
Yeah.
Let's do the same thing with Party. Is Party apologizing?
Yeah, I don't think so, but I don't even think that he is even considering apologizing. Like,
even considering it?
Yeah, I think just like life happens and he's just like, yeah, that was crazy.
No,
and then he continues his life.
No, he hit you with that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like he did nothing wrong. Like he did nothing
he's
wrong.
He's like, yeah, that's crazy type shit. Like, and then that's it.
That's it. And it's funny because the more you listen to this album, you hear him have these lines over and over, and you're like, you're dead serious singing with your whole heart about how right you are, about how you did nothing wrong. And one song that I really, really have to highlight is Sorry But I'm Outside, because self-explanatory is in the title already. You get what he's saying. But in the chorus he says, I shouldn't even be outside. I got somebody inside waiting on me, and I'm playing with their emotions. Sorry, but I'm outside tonight. Let's start there. I have someone inside waiting on me, but I'm outside. Insane. Nasty work from Partynextdoor. But he's doing that with his whole chest. And it's crazy because Partynextdoor is in this place where you call them sex ballads earlier.
Yeah.
We let him get all this stuff off. He's talking about falling for his side piece and having deep emotions for her.
Yeah.
And outside his side piece's door singing. If someone else did that, we're clowning them. That's the corniest thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When Party does it,
yeah, somehow we're allowing this to get off.
And we bang to it. So I think that's so interesting. And then on the outro, that woman's voice comes up again. And I think this is why I mentioned these phone calls earlier, is he is spelling things out in a way he hasn't always before with some of these interludes and outros, because I think he's partly realizing this thing that he does where he's in that group, he can say whatever he wants. His crooning, his tone, the production, he gets it off because he said some crazy things. And I think a lot of times it goes over our head where it's just vibes. It's just energy. But what he's saying, like I said, we would be calling it corny if it was somebody else. And on the outro, she says, I don't know what type of time you're on or what you really want to do, but you're wasting my time, Jerron. No, I've been doing this with you for so long. What you trying to say? I'm trying to say I can't keep doing this. There's someone out there for you. And we love each other, but what are we doing? Wait, what the fuck? Jerron, you're not doing enough. You're the only nigga out here not focused on his bitch. You're not serious, man. Like, you're not getting any younger, and neither am I. Wait, are you talking about you serious? Jerron, I'm dead serious. Are you talking to someone else? Having that argument with your side shorty.
Yeah, my question with this, I thought it was funny, but I also am like, how old is Partynextdoor?
He's older than us. I know that. He's older than us.
Hold on a second. That was something that struck me. I'm like, wait, Partynextdoor's been making music since
he's 31, or
Yeah.
he's 30 still because he's 93.
Yeah, he's been making music since like 2010, 2011, 13, stuff like that. I'm like, that sounds like a weird conversation to be having at 30 years old, bro.
and he's living it. And I want, this is my only lyrics, but I want to highlight this because this is where I talk about the idea of an artist has a persona that we just believe in.
Yeah.
This is it full-fledged right here, because this whole song, this whole conversation, this whole stuff he's saying, he's doing is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Is absolutely insane. And yes, we love misogyny in our music. Of course, that's we don't love it.
I wish, oh man, I would love to see people look at my face on the YouTube video.
We don't love it. We don't love it. But it is.
It's good.
But there are people that do. There are people that do.
Okay.
And it does well in music. But I think songs like this would make me realize Party's just in a place where we just think he's living this life, and we're not even questioning him, saying nothing. And someone I really have thought about during this project is Juice WRLD. I don't think it's as severe as Juice WRLD, but Juice WRLD to me was the same way, where this is album 7 and he sounds extremely depressed.
Yeah.
Like he's doing a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
He's extremely depressed. Probably don't sound happy on none of this. Now,
yeah, he kind of just sounds like he's just floating through that life. Like, I feel like he is so detached, like maybe even disassociate from what the fuck is happening, because he seems so indifferent, couldn't care less. He has that one song where he's like had triplets and had twins, and this guy had zero emotion when he says that in his songs. Like zero. And I think that one thing that he has maintained is kind of like first of all, kind of like that detachment. I feel like I don't know if he thinks that he's just like cooler than everybody else, or he thinks that he's like, he can just like live this life, nobody cares. Like, but there's always been that level of detachment from the scenario, not the lyrics. The lyrics are speaking of the detachment, but the scenario that he finds himself in, it feels like he's detached. Overall, I would say I like the hooks a lot in his songs. I would say a lot of them have really solid hooks. Not all of them, because I think "Lose My Mind," the DMX hook, doesn't fit. That doesn't work.
Not feeling that one.
Does anybody? I'm so curious. I'm like, the people who listen to this song, do they know what that DMX up in here sounds like?
I know someone who really likes that song and is very aware of the DMX one.
Okay.
So, that's the thing. People, listen, there are so much party things that we're going to look at and say and be like, and I'm going to tell you for a fact, all of those things, there's someone who that's their favorite thing.
Right. Yeah, so that hook didn't work for me, but I like the hook on Cheers, right? Where it's like, cheers when we drink, oh yeah. Cheers when we drunk, oh yeah. Cheers make me numb, oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Love hanging out, oh. Hate hanging up. Don't say it until you mean it. I like that one. Obviously, I'll have the audio for the audio listeners. And I also, which one did I also like? I liked, No Chill is the one I was talking about. When I've been with triplets, I've been with twins, I've been solo. Where do I begin? And you to me are the star of the show still, right? So I think that his hooks are solid, and I think that most of the time they're solid. Obviously, the ones that I mentioned, not so much. I have a couple of things like on the melodies that he did, where I just felt like it felt like a brick falling on a glass table, bro. It was like, I felt like sometimes it just breaks his. Damn. I feel like it breaks his song. Like, for example, where he is like, this is in sorry, no, not sorry, but I'm outside. Shit. Oh, it isn't sorry, but I'm outside. Where he says, cold-blooded. This is the first one. Cold-blooded, but it's warmer than an oven. When I'm talking about love with, these bitches want to make me sweet love to you too. Damn. It makes me think that breaking up is stupid. What?
You weren't feeling that? You weren't feeling that?
No, I was not feeling that. I'm like, wait, what just happened? Why did this? I felt like he, again, breaks the song with like the melody just doesn't make any sense. Um,
I hate to say it, you just don't get Party Next Door.
no, I do, but I'm
Do
just
you?
I'm just saying that it's not working. I just don't think it's working. I think that his battle with because I consider it feels like a battle sometimes.
Sorry, man.
So his battle with melody is something that hurts his songs, because I think that his hooks can be solid, but then when it comes to the verse and the melodies are not as sweet as anything else that's happening in the song, then it just like it damages the song overall. And that was one of them. And I think I had another one where I was like, where he goes to his ad libs. The ad libs, okay. I'm just gonna point this one out on resentment. I don't want to. There's a couple other times that has happened. That's at the beginning of the album, but where he's like, thinking about getting even, but I ain't even inspired to get that low. I just want to know what we're waiting for, baby. I won't keep bringing up the past. I won't keep trying to run it back. I won't keep standing for it. Lack of respect.
Lack of respect.
It's just like
lack of respect.
He's just like lack of respect. Like the audio on that, he's like singing, and then that one part, lack of respect. What? And it's jarring because of how slow his music is, and how like melodic, or not melodic, how vibey it is. When there's elements of it that are just like lack of respect.
It stands out.
Yeah.
You're not missing that.
So that's what I think my biggest gripe is, or one of my big gripes with his music overall.
So let's talk about what this means for his career.
Okay. I feel like it's indifferent.
I was gonna say I think this is a plus. I think that Party Next Door fans are a very unique bunch. I think that he's in such a unique spot as an artist, because I think that, to me, his relevancy is based mostly on his hardcore fans.
Yeah.
I think that the casual Party Next Door fans are not checking for Party anymore. I think if you're like a casual, you're just like, he drops, he doesn't, he doesn't. So I think that his core fans are basically keeping him alive.
Yeah, the Joe Buddens of the world.
Is Joe Budden a hardcore Party Next Door fan? The guy's great taste.
Joe Budden loves Party Next Door.
But I think that's like what's keeping him alive, and I think that this album is for them. So for me, this is a plus for his career, because actually I was yelling Party Next Door is back. I think I wasn't the only one. I've heard people this past weekend tell me I've been listening to the past few days. I don't even know the names of the songs. So
come on.
No, for real. So I think that for those people who are hardcore Party Next Door fans, you got another one in the rotation to just run and run and run back.
I think that for his career, I think it's a small plus just because it's another album to the discography, but like in like the grand scope of everything that he's doing, I'm like, this is a neutral. Like whether or not this existed or not doesn't matter for his discography. Like there's no songs that are like, oh, this has to be on the
That's true.
in the greatest hits list or on like
nothing on that in here.
Yeah. I mean, Cheers is probably the closest. But other than that, no other song is like, oh, this is like a Party Next Door classic. Like, no, that's not really a thing for him. So so I think that overall, I'm like, it's a neutral. I don't think he's drawing in new fans, and I don't think it's like raising his profile other than Party Next Door just dropped new music.
Yeah, not drawing any new fans, but I go back to Party Mobile or Party Mobile, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, I called it Mobile because I thought it was like a car, like you know.
No, so did I, but we never know. But
okay.
I think this album sounds more like Party than Party Mobile. And so if you're a hardcore Party fan, you're like, okay, he sounds like Party again. I think Party Mobile was more of the watered down version of him. And so this one, you're like, okay, he's back.
Yeah.
He's back. How do you feel about the cover?
The cover is probably one of the more interesting parts of this album, to be honest, because even in the Polaris Prize group where we were talking about Party Next Door, the cover was like, hey, is there a different cover that I can use to attach to these files or something, like, or attach to like my Spotify cover so I don't have to. So I think that's a little bit that was hilarious to me, by the way. I don't even know if we should be talking about that. But I think that the cover overall is I want to say controversial. Controversial. I don't know if I particularly love it just because if you want to play this album anywhere and the album cover shows, people are going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it does not suit well for public consumption.
This is a definition of when Tumblr used to be a thing and it was like, don't open Tumblr in public.
Yeah.
Now it's don't open Twitter in public.
Yeah.
This
Facts.
is, yeah, don't open Twitter in public, people.
Yeah.
This is like that. And I made this joke of the week and I said, I feel like this album came out and saved somebody's relationship. Because this album is giving like, this is you and your partner. Y'all have played this for like the whole day laying in bed. Like, that's what I think this album is for. But I like the cover. Of course, I like the cover. But I don't think it was worth what it gave. I think the shock value of the cover, it definitely helped the notoriety of people knowing the album was coming out.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, Partynextdoor is coming out. So I think that helped, but I just feel like he could have had a better cover than this one. But to be fair, I don't really like any of Partynextdoor's covers.
I like the second one, Partynextdoor 2, the one where it's like blurred. I thought that was cool.
2 and 1 are okay, but I just think that, but I do understand that he is, again, the first person in this group of the toxic, mysterious, you never see my face type of artist. He's all of that. So I get it. You know, we're not seeing his face here. So continue there. But I just feel like the shock value this created wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Also, sometimes it helps and the music is like really good, and then it's like, oh, like, you know, the controversial cover kind of amplifies the songs inside of it. And I feel like he used one of the arrows in the quiver to hit to miss a target, basically. Yeah. Right? Like, when you have a controversial cover, people are gonna want to listen or at least engage with it in some sort of fashion, right? And to have this box of music where I felt like was not as evocative as the cover was like a miss. Like, there's nothing where this
cover doesn't match.
Yeah, like there's nothing that is happening here that I'm like, yes, this cover is like it fits perfectly. I feel like the cover is literally just like, it's like a clickbait title.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the cover is a cool concept. But overall for like this album, I don't think it works.
So I'm guessing you're not getting this on vinyl.
No, I will not be getting it on vinyl.
Okay.
Do you think that it's a no skips?
I do think it's a no skips.
You think it's a no skips?
I do think this is a no skips.
Wow.
Yeah. This is definitely one of the party albums that you can play from front to back. I think this kind of makes me look at the series of Partynextdoor as a little different because I don't include Party Mobile in the series of self-titled albums.
Do you? You're like this series. You keep saying series, like
P&D 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, but okay,
because he has albums outside of that. I think that's like at first that's all he had. When you think of like Colors, 7 Days, Party Mobile, and then the Party Pack, this is a separate series of projects.
Okay.
Kind of like saying when Savage and Metro have their separate series.
Yeah, Savage Mode.
So I think for this being him going back to the series and the sound going back to what we're used to, I like it. I like it. Yeah, this is a no skips for me.
Okay, that's interesting. I guess it is technically a no skips because there's nothing that is offensively bad or anything that like super jumps out.
So throw it on and see. That's you got throw it on and see what happens. That's when you know if it's no skips.
I have, because I had to listen to it.
No, not
I had to listen to it.
Not by yourself, but I'm saying when people are around, like, you know, if there's a mood that fits or a vibe that fits, and you throw this on, you know, see how long you get to before someone says something. And this album, I think, you know, if in the right setting, you're gonna get pretty far.
Right. Okay. So tell me what your score is. Your score for Partynextdoor 4. P4, Party 4, whatever the fuck. It's getting to like the P. Diddy level of naming at this point.
Yeah.
But Partynextdoor 4 by Partynextdoor.
P4, Partynextdoor 4 by Partynextdoor.
Yeah.
It's an 8 out of 10 for me.
Wow. I am actually genuinely stunned that number came out of your mouth. I cannot believe that shit.
That number came out of your mouth. Yeah, man. I think this is an album that is great as a whole. It has that, you know, quality where you can listen to it all the way through. There are some standouts for me. like Cheers and her old friends, Make It to the Morning as well. The one thing I do want to say that makes this album not as good for me is I don't think there's anything on here that's making Party's greatest hits for me. Like if I'm making my own Partynextdoor album, I might include some of these songs, but none of these are in his like top 20 to me. And so I say that might have given an 8.5, but for that it just gets an 8. But good album to me. Partynextdoor is kind of found himself again, it seems like. So I like the word in this space of Partynextdoor.
Okay. Well, that's your score. I'm happy for you. And I'm happy for Partynextdoor fans. For me, Partynextdoor 4P4 by Partynextdoor is a 4 out of 10.
Wow.
I think it's repetitive. I think that his singing is like mediocre. Like I don't ever feel like Partynextdoor was like an amazing singer, really.
No, I don't think so.
His hooks are good sometimes, bad sometimes. The ad-libs are often not very good. The lyrics are kind of generic. Like sometimes, you know, he gets off a 1-2, ooh, that's a funny toxicity bar or whatever like that, but not something that I'm like, oh, you gotta, you know, like, oh, the lyrics are really adding to the spice of the production or anything like that. And the production is rather spiceless. Except for a couple of songs that we pointed out. And one of those songs being a proto Afrobeat track when Afrobeats is taken off. So that felt it felt a little rudimentary. So it's a 4 out of 10. It's listenable. I feel like it's extremely listenable. There's no reason to like.
That's very nice of
when
you. Extremely listenable.
When it's on, there is no reason to stop it. Other than to play better music. But if it's just on, you're like, you know, this is an acceptable vibe.
Other than to play better music is so crazy.
Yeah, this is an acceptable vibe for this current moment. But if I get the aux, I will be changing it.
Yeah, this is probably the album that has the highest rating for me that doesn't have a standout song for me. But as an album as a whole, there are so many albums that I can't play the album all the way through.
Right.
And this album just having that quality and me actually liking the production on this project, that was an easy score for me.
Yo, doesn't everything from Toronto sound like this though? Legit?
I think everything tries to sound like this, but like I go back to this. When I was growing up, we didn't have Spotify. So if you bought that Jay-Z CD, that's what you listened to. And if you wanted to hear a better version of Jay-Z, you had to buy a better version of Jay-Z. Now we have Spotify and all the music is there. So when someone makes a worse version of a song, people complain. I said, Lauryn Hill is still out there. Go listen to Lauryn Hill if you want. Party is doing that in the present, where there's all the worst versions of Party you can listen to, but someone who's doing it the best way, the right way, is still out here doing it. So I got to give him his credit for that, because it's not his fault everyone's copying him. Like, and he's still showing he does it the best. So got to give him his props for that.
All right, so I am happy for all Partynextdoor fans. You guys, you know, at your kickback, at your after party, you can bump this 24/7, whatever. I'm happy for you.
I would still bump P&D 2R1 over this, if I'm being real.
How are you giving it an 8 out of 10 if you're like, oh yeah, I would totally play the other albums over
P&D 1 and 2 would both get 9s on this show.
Okay,
so yeah, I'm cool with that. Partynextdoor fans, in the comments, show me some love. Find us on the interwebs at Album Mode Pod, on Instagram at Album Mode Pod, on Twitter at Album Mode Pod, on TikTok, of course. Leave us a rating and a review on all your podcast platforms. 5 stars, not a single star less. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later days.